Hello, welcome to Tech Talk Thursday. I do keep forgetting that there's actually sound on that transition. Thank you, Mr. McKenna, for building that many years ago. I never realized there was sound in it. There you go. Well, today we're going to be talking about an email first strategy. We have a guest that we've had on the show before. John Bellingham is back with us and he's going to be talking about all things email. But before we get to John, let's bring on Mr. McKenna and talk about the exceptional weather you've been having in Scotland. Shall we talk about that?
Hey, I think, well, we've had nice sunny weather, but I think John's got it even brighter on the west coast of Scotland. I'm on the east coast of Scotland. So we're doing okay, but nothing compared with your 37 degrees or something.
37 yesterday. That was a bit warm yesterday, but thankfully we have air conditioning in the house. But it was a bit much. The cats are all laid outside under the shade. We have to keep bringing ice cubes out for them to make sure that they're not stressing. But apart from that, it's been all right. Yeah. So you've been keeping busy with live streaming and testing and doing all kinds of stuff recently, right?
I've been doing a lot of testing over the past few days and weeks, actually, and it's interesting to note all sorts of odd things going on with LinkedIn. I believe it's now promoting lives, which is interesting, and also promoting post-live replays as well, in particular in vertical. So these are all fluid changes that are going on in LinkedIn, and I've been jumping in and out and trying different ways of finding out what's happening with the algorithm and wondering whether comments and things like that are going to make any difference on the live streams in terms of post live stream promotion. So been trying to work that all out and trying different configurations, some of which turn out to be quite tricky. So yeah, there's been a lot of technical stuff going on the past couple of weeks, a lot of A/B testing, and hopefully it's all going in the right direction. But it's good to actually see LinkedIn seems to eventually be thinking, oh, actually, lives might be quite a good idea.
Definitely. I think there's big changes ahead for LinkedIn, and obviously they're trying to do video first as well. They're really starting to push that. And I've been reading about how vertical video is being pushed as well in the algorithm, but that's probably for another show completely, where we dissect what's going on with LinkedIn. But it's interesting what you've been doing in terms of testing as well, and seeing what results you're getting. And it is changing, definitely, over the last sort of few months since we've been posting and things. So stay tuned. We may have some more info.
I'm certainly, stay tuned. I think my replays have gone up by a factor of 4. No one ever used to get the replays pushed into their feed. I think they've gone through the roof. So we'll see, as you say.
Yep.
A whole show's worth of chat.
Definitely. Well, today's topic of conversation is all about email and why you should be building yourself an email list in favor of spending so much time trying to post on social media and things like that. And we have an email first expert with us today. We would like to welcome back Mr. John Bellingham. John, welcome back to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you, Neil and Martin. Thanks for inviting me along. Great to be here.
Welcome. You've always welcome on the show. You've been here a couple of times, and we've seen you in the chat as well. But let's get this weather thing out of the way first. Is there a competition between you and Martin in the places of Scotland? Are you actually a little bit warmer than Martin at the moment? Is that possible?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, it's always a west-east thing, but I think the west is slightly edging it at the moment.
Oof.
And I fully expect. I was just looking at the forecast, and tomorrow we're going to get rain, so normal service will be resumed. So what I expect to see is a lot of Scottish sunburn people walking about in the rain. So
you have to take some pictures.
We all go from a sort of an unhealthy light blue colour to bright pink. So we're very like lobsters in that way,
Light blue. That's a weird colour to start with, but never mind. Yeah, because obviously you're very, very cold all the time. But anyway, weather aside, John, if you'd like to introduce yourself to the people that are watching who haven't met you before.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is John Bellingham. I spend most of my time in and around email marketing. And these days, I've been using email for probably a couple of decades now. But these days I tend to spend most of my time helping solopreneurs design and build what I call an email first business. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. My background's software and technology, so that's kind of where I come from.
Yeah, we were just talking before the show about working for Compaq and talking about the BlackBerry series and what Martin turned me on to as well, which was a great series. If you're into technology and want to see how BlackBerry started, then that's definitely a series to go and watch. But anyway, so let's talk about email specifically. Now, you've obviously built a business. Around 95% of your revenue actually comes from sort of email marketing and not through ads and stuff. And there's a lot of people spending tons of time on, social media and places like that. So what's sort of a fundamental shift that has to happen to make email make sense for people? And why should people concentrate and focus on email instead of spending all their time trying to beat the algorithm?
So for me, it's about positioning. I think people perceive email marketing as a broadcast channel, much like other ones, when in actual fact it's not. There's a couple of slides can I share a couple of slides?
Yeah, let's go for the first slide. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So one of the most common questions I get when people talk to me, they'll say to me, "What exactly is an email first business? What do you mean by that?" Certainly my definition of it is everything points towards your email list, and certainly in my business, I generate about 95% of my income, my revenue, from my email list. So I'm one of these people who I passionately dislike social media. I detest every minute I spend on it. I don't enjoy it. I wish I did, but I just don't. So I think I gravitated towards this model based on my natural dislikes. So the definition I have here is an email first business generates the majority of its revenue from its email list, and that's exactly what I do. The next slide we look at is going to show what a typical, I would suggest, a content driven business. Now, I think we all on this call have a content driven business. In other words, we create content so that we get attention of, potentially get the attention of people we might want to work with or help at some point in the future. And we all generate content in different formats, and we place it onto different platforms. So this little sketch here is demonstrating from the top. Those are the types of things that most people will generate. So it might be, it could be a podcast like this. It could be a YouTube video. It could be Instagram, a LinkedIn post. It could be any number of things. And then we typically share it across a range of platforms. Some people go all in and they try and cover as many bases as they can, as many platforms as they can. I personally don't. I use one social platform, which is LinkedIn. But what most people do will then treat their email marketing as one of these broadcast platforms. So they'll let's say they create a post. They'll share that post on LinkedIn. Let's say they might share it on Facebook or Instagram. And then typically what they'll do is they'll put the same post or a very similar version of the post inside an email and send that to their email list as well, which is, it's counterproductive to the whole notion of what email marketing does. So that's what most people, in my experience, that's what most people do and how they treat email marketing. If we move to the next slide, what we'll see is what a typical email first business looks like. So if we start at the top, we're still publishing everything. So we're not saying that we don't use social platforms. We're not saying that these things are being replaced by email. What they are, in my view, they have a symbiotic relationship, and we need one to have a successful email marketing system in our business. So typically we would publish content into all the channels that we just talked about, but everything that we share across the platforms, the general call to action is bringing people back to our email marketing list. And I'm not a big advocate of constantly asking people to sign up for this and sign up for that. I don't mean that, but if you do it in the right percentage of content you're sharing, so maybe 2 or 3 times out of every 10 times you share something across the platforms, maybe you've got a call to action in there to say, if you want more help, I've got this downloadable document I've got this free video that you can watch, I've got this webinar coming up, if you want to join us, you can. So you've got that kind of soft call to action, if you like. What what's key is that call to action. No matter what it is, it's always bringing them back to the email list. It could be just something as simple as join us next week for a free webinar. Just stick your name below and I'll send you the details. Them doing that is them joining your email list. And then from that point onwards, the relationship has moved from being a one to millions to being just a one-to-one. So now, instead of putting a general message across a number of social platforms or even publishing platforms like Substack, Medium, those types of things, instead of doing that, where I can't actually articulate my message enough to personalize it for each reader, now I've taken that relationship and I've moved it onto a one-to-one relationship. So now when I send an email, I'm now sending it to Neil, or I'm sending it to Martin, and I know Neil's a video production specialist. I know Martin, you know, his ideal customer is whoever it may be, X, Y, Z, and I know more about you because I've collected data. And when I share content from my email marketing system, everything I send to you is not generic top of funnel stuff. It's more targeted, specific content that you want help with, or addressing problems that you might want help with right now. So that's my kind of summary of the difference between a typical content-driven business and an email-first business, where everything your email list effectively becomes the beating heart of your business, and everything exudes from that platform.
I have to say, you touched a nerve a little bit with this slide here. I mean, I've been guilty in the past. I'm getting better of doing that. So creating similar pieces of content that are going to be in my Substack newsletter, for example, which effectively is my sort of where I've got my email list. And then I'll take the same post. I'm getting better because I'm not doing it like exactly the same now. Maybe summarizing it, or even doing a smaller little teaser post that goes into LinkedIn that then has a call to action to drive people to Substack, and not trying to make it all the same. But I have been guilty in the past of thinking you've got to be ubiquitous, right? You've got to be posting on all these different platforms in order to gain traction. And it's an interesting concept whereby, look, let's just create the content in the platforms that we know well and drive people to the email list where we can, you know, keep that curated and owned. And we'll talk about owning why owning your email list does matter later. And instead of actually just randomly posting stuff. And there's many different ways of obviously getting that email list. I mean, Martin, you've managed to collect a number of people in your email list through things that you've been promoting, selling, and free profiles that you've been doing in the past. I mean, how's that sort of work for you specifically? Is that something you're starting to sort of use more as well?
Well, I think I see it in part as a qualification process as well. So there is no point in suddenly wanting to gather 10,000 email addresses that are, you know, relatively random because people have decided they want the free thing, whatever it happens to be. It needs to be a bit more than that, because you want to have a business relationship with these people. So you want them to only download the free thing if the likelihood is that takes them further down the line. So I see the whole email process in part as a qualification of those coming in to. So I've suddenly got 500 really useful potential people rather than 10,000 just generic people who signed up to watch something once, you know. So
yeah, I think you're right, because go ahead, John. Sorry.
Oh, so I was going to say you hit the nail on the head, Neil, Martin, with that one, because as important as it is to grow your list, it's equally important to discourage people you don't want on your list to join. And I'm very purposeful about that, using the copy, the language that I use, and the stuff that I put out. And quite often I'll say, this is not for you if, and then I'll lay out the terms. Because at the end of the day, the last thing we want is the vanity metric of having hundreds or thousands of subscribers that don't engage, that end up becoming cold subscribers. And they ultimately end up negatively impacting your deliverability. You're paying for subscribers to be there that are never going to purchase from you. So yeah, I'm just echoing what you said there, the importance of making sure it's the right subscribers you bring in, and it's not just freebie chasers. And there's strategies of how to do that, to discourage the people you don't want, and it's not just freebie chasers that are joining your list.
It is interesting. You and I'm the same. So I've created things that are free, like a free lead magnet. People will sign up, they'll download it, they'll potentially use it, saying with free software and bits and pieces and things, and then and you've got those email addresses, and then when you try to convert them into actually paying customers, that's when it's like, whoa, wait a minute, and then it's radio silence. So it is difficult, I think, in some cases when you especially when you're starting off in business. One, you do want obviously people to follow you and engage, and to start, you've got to start from somewhere. So you've got to start gaining subscribers. But then, as you mentioned quite rightly, both of you, that you've got to then try and filter and weed out the people that are just going to be the casual viewers as opposed to real customers, because there's a lot of people out there, particularly with YouTube and social media. And I think social media has made this difficult as well, that there's a lot of free stuff available in social media. So people are saying, well, I can probably get and find all this stuff for free on social media. Why should I be coming to you and paying for a particular service or product, and so on? So I think there's definitely mileage in filtering that out and making sure that the people you have on your email list are actually, the right people and in your ideal client persona as well. I wanted to ask you about the importance of actually owning your email address, because email list, because we know with the vanity metrics, with the subscribers, you can have 1 million subscribers on YouTube. We've heard these stories many times. We've had people on Facebook who've had huge groups on Facebook. Facebook has changed something, either a term and condition has changed, or something that relates to live streaming, for example, to certain groups on Facebook, and boom, straight away, things have changed, and you no longer maybe have a platform that you once thought you had to be able to engage with your audience. So why does owning your email address matter more, I think, now than ever before?
Yeah, so that you pretty much hear stories like that every week, don't you? People losing access to the list. The most recent one in my mind was, I'm a member of another community, and inside that community there's a man who he's grown a list of 62,000 subscribers on YouTube, and a few weeks ago he mentioned something in a video that was inappropriate or he shouldn't have mentioned, and essentially YouTube cancelled his account. So he's now no longer got 62,000 subscribers. And reading the following the story inside the community, it looks like there's no way back. That's it, it's gone. It's like he's out. So he's gone from having successfully grown this 62,000 audience to literally zero overnight. He's getting no audience on YouTube anymore. Obviously he can start again, he can build it. But had he taken, which he hadn't, had he taken the purposeful measure to transfer some of those people, not all of them, of course, you couldn't do that, but at least some of those people on a consistent basis from YouTube onto his email list, then he would still have direct access to those people. And that's the most obvious benefit from that, in that regard, of having your own list. When you collect email subscribers, and there's a bunch of regulations you've got to follow to collect subscribers. You just can't add people to your list. It's not as easy as that. Maybe a few years ago it was, and it was like the Wild West, and you could pretty much do it, and you like, those days are thankfully gone. But when you go to the bother of collecting those people, then you become the custodian of that list, and only you or the subscriber can change that dynamic. There's no algorithm, there's no restrictions around who gets to see your emails or who doesn't, providing you're following the regulations, of course, around domain authentication, sender reputation, all those types of things. If you're ticking those boxes, then you're fine. If you've got 1,000 subscribers, you can send an email to 1,000 people. If you've got 1,000 followers on LinkedIn and you send a post out, I don't know what the figures are, but I think it's probably near to 5 or 10% of your network is going to see that, plus maybe some others that are not part of your network. And the beautiful thing about being the custodian of that list is that if you don't happen to, or that you no longer enjoy or like the platform you're on, then take your list and move to another platform. It's not like you need to stick with, if you grow a list on Kit and someday decide Kit's not for you, you want to move to MailerLite, then you can do that, and all the data comes with you. So when someone subscribes to your email list, they're not saying, I give you permission to store my email list on Kit. They're just saying, I give you permission to store my email address, and providing you you work within the limits that are agreed, then everything will be fine. So, and it's if you can associate a value, I know you can't directly associate a monetary value, with 100% accuracy around a subscriber, but as you start to generate an income automatically via your email marketing, it then starts to hit home that every time you grow that list, that's an important and a valuable asset in your business, and it's something that you don't want ever to lose, right? Contrast that with what you mentioned way back at the start, is losing the access to those thousands or tens of thousands of people on social platform.
Yeah,
it can be gone in a puff of smoke.
Definitely. We have a question, real quick, from Saeed. I'll let you go first, Martin. Yeah, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, well, actually, what I was going to mention is, so say this chap who's lost his list decides, oh, I think I'm going to go and buy an email list, which is something, believe it or not, you can still do, and there's still loads of people selling lists of names. Where are we legally from that standpoint now, purchasing email, like 10,000 names, which they've clearly gone and scraped from LinkedIn or whatever, but where do we sit?
So legally you can do that. You can buy or you can rent. You can even rent a list. Renting lists are quite popular. But that you need to detach that from the actual usage of those emails inside your email platform. But if we go back to the people who are selling and are renting the lists, they will never rock up and say, we've scraped this from X, Y, and Z platform. What they're going to say is, we've authentically collected these subscribers. We know they're interested in the market that you serve, and for X amount of money, you can have access to them to broadcast emails. Now, there's all sorts of, traps waiting for people if you get down that route. My recommendation is just don't do it, because it'll end up in tears somewhere down the line. How far you get down that line before you end up crying will vary from person to person, but in my experience, it's fraught with, not that I've ever done it, but I've seen people who have done it. I've had customers who have done it. It's fraught with danger, and it usually ends up in a bad way. One of the most common things that people get caught with, so companies like Google, Yahoo, Microsoft and all that, they will actually insert fictitious emails into these lists purposefully, so that they know so let's say I buy a list or I rent a list of 10,000 names. In that, there's going to be what's known as a spam trap. If I end up sending an email out and it goes to that list, it will trigger right away to Google and all those companies, Yahoo, that this guy has obviously purchased this list. He's not got this email subscriber the way he should have got it, because it's never been in use. It's never been an authenticated email address that people have been used. So there's no way someone could have signed up using that email address. So, and people don't realise when they're buying these lists or renting these lists that they're leaving themselves exposed to that. And it's not just the short-term negative of not being able to use that. It's the long-term damage to the reputation it does to your sender domain. So you're going to be flagged as someone who does what I've just described. And if it goes far enough, you can end up being blacklisted. So there's blacklists that exist on the internet, and some of these companies like Google, Yahoo, etc. will check the blacklist, and if your domain is on that blacklist, you ain't getting into their subscribers' inboxes. They'll just be turned away, and it'll be, they'll refuse to accept it. So, I guess there's going to be a number of people who will, disagree with me and say, no, I rent and buy lists all the time and they work perfectly. What I just described is my experience of it, and I would not recommend doing it.
I think there's a lesson there, because you just don't know, right? So you could be, like, just like anything else, getting away with it for a while, and then boom, Google or one of the others will trap that email, blacklist you, and potentially then you won't be able to use that. And then it's your sending address, isn't it? It's basically where you're sending that email from is going to be blacklisted, and therefore you're going to have to maybe start again or go through that whole sort of process of authentication and everything else, right?
Yeah, it's just I just don't see any upsides to it, right? I prefer just to go down the organic route of grow an audience that want to be on your list, and not people who don't expect to be on your list. So if and undoubtedly I exist on lists that are being sold and rented, and you do as well. But if someone sends me an email, which we all get every day, right, and it says, I've got the ideal thing for you. It's the X, Y, or Z. That is a result of them having purchased my email address from someone or rented it. And the first thing I do is, I don't know you. I'm going to delete, and I might even report you as spam. So the return on your investment of buying or renting these lists, I would suggest, is very low in comparison to what it should be when you run a proper, successful email marketing campaign. It's just not value for money, in my opinion.
It's like buying friends, but we don't go down that route. So Saeed's got a question. It might be a bit small in here, but let's do it. So if you clean up inactives from your list in Kit, and some people block tracking in their email clients, how can you make sure not to delete active subscribers that just seem inactive? Any ideas about that? Good question.
Yeah, so the way I do it in my business is I get them to do something. So I ask them to, click here, visit this site, give me some detail, click this poll and give me that. So I'm actually asking them for active responses. If they don't, then other than, there's no other way for me to prove that they are genuinely active if they've disabled all the tracking at their end. And I think I tend to be a bit more aggressive than most people inside my email list. And as if people don't engage, I unsubscribe them automatically after a period of time. So if I, let's say, for example, it's 21 days, because that is what I do for some subscribers, not all, but some subscribers, I give them 21 days to engage with me. If they don't, I send them a re-engagement sequence, which has got more, let's say, incendiary headline or subject lines. It's not like about email, it's about like, it's time to say goodbye, I'm off. So that language, they know it's not to do with email marketing. And if they don't respond or engage with those emails, then I give them another 7 days to wait to give them time to read that or engage with that. And if they don't, I just unsubscribe them. So it's an automated process. That happens every day on my email list. There's people being unsubscribed every day because of that. And I look at it as having two walls when I'm bringing subscribers into my email list. The first wall is, are you going to go through the double opt-in process to actually join my list? Have you not been discouraged by the copy I've used in whatever I'm sharing with you? If you get through that and you do the double opt-in, then you've obviously put a bit of effort in. But once you're in the other side of the wall, based on where you came from, I'll determine how long you get before you get kicked off the list if you're not interacting. So an example of that in the Kit world is they've got this thing called the Creator Network. Essentially, it's a network of tens of thousands of other other email marketers who share their list with you, and you ultimately share your list with them in some regard. But what I find is people who come in via that route are the ones that are least engaging, because they've come in because they've clicked on something that Neil's offering and not something I'm offering. It just happens to say, would you want to join John's list as well? They say yes, and before they know it, all they want to know about is eCam, and they've got this guy who keeps emailing them about Kit or email marketing, and they end up saying, they either don't open the email or they just unsubscribe. So it's not a straight, I don't know if that answers Saeed's question, but it's not a straightforward, do this one thing, and it's a series of events, a series of things that you need to do to basically minimise that happening. Interesting
you mentioned about the email sequence that you send out. There was somebody that I subscribed to, mentioning no names, some time ago. And, you get the first email, blah, blah, blah. And you don't always interact with that or take an action from the email, but you're interested in reading about it. And then they sent another one. And then by the third or fourth one, I think it may be the fourth one, it says, look, it just seems like we're not going to be friends anymore. So I'm going to remove you from this list now. I was like a little bit passive aggressive, some of it, but I guess it got my attention because I remember it for that thing. Yeah. So I think you've got to be a little bit cute, I think, with some of the subject lines and things like that, just to get people's attention, because I don't know how many emails you guys get a day which are unsolicited, and just a lot of them are nonsense. But it's got a lot better over the years, but there's still the odd weird email that comes through thinking, well, I don't even know what this is, and I'm certainly not going to click on anything. It's just be deleted straight away. But there's a lot of nonsense out there. Back to your point, probably they're trying to sell grandma's recipe for ratatouille, which I'm not interested in, but they've got this email list and they decided to send it out. So it's a bit bizarre, some of the emails you get, but it is very personal as well, right? This is an email that's in my inbox and you're expecting me to read that. So I think the difference between getting a subscriber or some interaction on YouTube is very different from having a personalized email in your inbox that you're expecting people to read and then maybe take action upon. It feels a lot more personal, and I think that's why email, even today, still resonates with a lot of people, even though email's been around for, I don't want to say how long because that would age me, but you know what I mean. It's been around for quite a while, right? Which is
1971, if you want to.
Oh gosh, okay, it's not that bad then. I don't remember it back then. I was still a little wee burden. But I've had a couple of people come to me, and this is a question I had for you as well. It's basically, customers and probably some viewers of this have been collecting email addresses from different places over the years, right? Maybe it's a lead magnet, or they've created a course, or they've done some other stuff. And I know I'm thinking of two particular people that I work with who have sort of not really bothered harvesting or doing anything with these. They've been quite successful in some of that. They've collected a lot of these email addresses. They may be in Google Sheets. They may be in just sat in their inbox and so on in sort of replies. Where can people sort of start with that? When people come to you, is that a common issue that people come to you with? And if so, what's your advice? Where should people start?
Yeah, so you've probably asked a question that over 90% of people have in their head, because in my experience, this is the typical journey of someone who does email marketing in their space, in the solopreneur space. They will get excited about growing an email list. They'll put together something that's going to attract people. They'll start to market it out there, and they'll start to get people joining their list. When people join their list, it's usually nothing. Usually nothing happens for a period of time, because what they're focused on is just collecting subscribers, and they don't really think about it from a subscriber's perspective, what's happened, what their experience is like. And that'll go on for a period of time, and then they'll think to themselves, hang on, Black Friday's coming up, or there's some event that I'm going to launch, and I want to share it with my list so they can buy it. And if you put yourself in the position of the subscriber, all they're doing is they signed up for that webinar 3 months ago, and now they're out the blue, they're getting a thing to say, do you want to buy something from me? And it's not a good experience, right? Nobody wants to go through that. So you need to make sure that you've got, first of all, if you're coming to me with a list that you've collected, the first thing I'd be doing is checking, is it still relevant? How old is the list? Are people still alive? They might be dead by now. They might have left the job. If it's corporate addresses, you might find a lot of them bounce. So the first thing you do is sanity check that list to see, is it still relevant? And then you would sort of warm it up by introducing, some sort of form of communication. Sorry, I've not been in touch for 4 years, but I'm back, and this is what I do now, sort of thing. And then you're going to get another, whack of people who just drop off as well, because they're no longer interested in that. Mm-hmm. So you really want to get to the point where you've actually got a bunch of subscribers, and it might be 10% or 90% of your original list, who knows. But once you know you've got that list, and you've got rid of the sort of dead wood, if you like, then you need to start saying, right, this is what I do, this is how I can help you, what's your biggest challenge right now? And then get them engaged. So let's say for you, in your world, Neil, let's say video production, somebody wants to get really good at creating or making videos or presenting themselves on via eCam or something. They're definitely interested in it, and they still want to get content from you. So you might say, well, right now, what's your biggest challenge? And you'll give them maybe 2 options or maybe 3 options. My biggest challenge right now is I've no idea what equipment to buy. What do I need? Someone might say, my biggest challenge right now, and you would present these as options, of course, it's not like free text. The second option you might give them is, I want to go live, I don't know how to do that. And the third option might be, I can't even think of a good third option, but let's say it was, how to use eCam, let's say, as an example. At that point, you're then presenting options to people. Now, you'll still get some people who don't click on anything, but a majority of your subscribers will click, and they'll put their hand up and say, this is the problem I've got right now. And let's say they click on, I want help with eCam. So at that point, you now know you're going to give help to this person to get them acquainted with eCam and how to use it. So from that point onward, you can then start to make reference to that. Hi Susan, I know you're trying to get your head wrapped around eCam at the moment. Now that messaging alone is completely different from something on generic on social media, on social platform, where you can't get down to that level. And that's a really simple automation, what I've just described there, for anybody to create. All you need is essentially a good welcoming sequence, an onboarding sequence to get the people on there. Tell them a bit about who you are, what you do, how you can help them, and then finish it with and what's your biggest challenge. Give them the 2 or 3 options. When they click on it, then automatically drip them into a sequence that helps them overcome that problem. So you might have a 6 email sequence or a 7 email sequence that says, here's the 80% of what you need to know about eCam, and over that 7-day period, you're going to teach them about eCam. As you get to the bottom of that, or towards the end of that sequence, you're going to say, what's your biggest challenge now? And they might say, well, now I know how to use eCam. How do I go live, or how do I stream to LinkedIn or whatever? And you can repeat that process as many times as you want. And I'm not suggesting you start like this, but over a period of time, you're going to build in logic and conditional control that people will self-select the content they actually want from you. Now, 80% or 90% of the content you create is going to be the same for everybody, but everybody's going to potentially choose which particular topic they want to attack at a different time. So subscriber that joins today, they might come in and they'll approach 3 topics all in a different sequence from what I might approach it, joining the same email list, so they get a personalized experience. I know I'm kind of off at a tangent here. I know, going back to the question about how, if someone comes to you with an aged list or an old list, but that's in response. That's how I would do it. I would warm it up, make sure it's active, and then I would put in a fundamental basic automation just to get people across the start line and say, right, now we're going to start having a communication here. I'm going to start sending you emails, you're going to click on things, and we're going to learn about each other. And then I'm going to make you an offer because I know it's exactly the thing that you need right now.
I mean, you've definitely answered the question. I think for me, it's what people may not realize is that there can be a suite of logic applied to an email sequence that will help funnel and guide, and then you can understand basically what people are looking for, as opposed to randomly creating emails with ideas that you think your audience wants, as opposed to actually understanding from them directly what they actually need. And as you said, you can create this content, and then in everybody's journey, in their life cycle, they could be at different points in time, but the content is the same. And I think that's, for me personally, just hearing that, I think I'm definitely missing a trick, because my sort of email marketing tool of choice is just my Substack newsletter. And it's I'll create a newsletter and people will engage with the newsletter and they can comment on it, and maybe some topics resonate with people and they give me feedback. But that's the limit of that platform. You can't do anything else. You can't take in those questions, maybe put them into some logic and then feed them through something else. So I think I might have to talk to you about that and what I can do better, because that's not helping me in that way, because I'm weekly creating content that I'm interested in, and things that I find that maybe are interesting to other people, and sometimes it resonates and sometimes it doesn't. But that's something that I'm not doing. And that's a question I would have for you. Are people able to have both? So they can obviously create a newsletter to that same email list, but with that same email list that you've got using for your newsletter, you could then pop that into Kit or something else, and then apply some logic and have some automation associated with that, so that the two can run in parallel. It's not that you're having to flip-flop between them each time. And I think that maybe is a confusing thing for people. They think, I'll just start sending emails, I'll build my list, I'll send more emails, and and that's it. It doesn't. There's no sort of process or workflow or stream behind it. So I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. The way I tend to run my business is I have a let's say it's a weekly newsletter I send out. It goes out on a Friday, but it's actually an evergreen sequence. So it's content that doesn't date. It's as relevant today as it was last year, even though it's actually a new sequence I've written in the last couple of months. But essentially what that is a brain dump of what I know about email marketing and Kit that helps people to get to grips with each part of the business. Now they can self-select over a period of time how they want to complement that core content. So on a Friday, they get that email and it's not that long. It's maybe 500, 750 words or so, but it helps them with a specific topic. But in that email, I've got the option to update your preferences. And when you click on update preferences, what they get then is presented with other things that they could learn about. And internally in my business, if someone selects, so let's say for example, they want to learn about how to grow your email list, that's a specific email sequence that talks about nothing else other than growing your list, and it's drip fed to them over a period of days. And the same applies for other topics. So people then start to get familiar with how your email marketing system works. Oh, if I want to know more about a particular subject, I click here and I find it. And if you ask people, and this is how I've done it over the years, is I ask people, what is it you want help with? And if they want help with a specific thing, I'll go away, I'll build an email sequence that helps that particular problem, whatever that may be. Now, it sounds like a lot of work up front, but when you do it over time, what you end up with is a rich library of content that people can just think about it as a virtual library. They just come along, click on what they want, and then the automation behind the scenes takes care of it. It only sends it out at a particular time on a particular day. All that stuff's taken care of over the email platform. And everything behind the scenes is happening automatically. I don't know all these things are going on each day because I'm not looking at it, but I know that I've built in all that automation, because somebody will respond to me and they'll reply to an email saying, they might say 250, and I'm like, what are they talking about? And I've got to read the email below to see what they were actually answering, because in the email I've asked them, what the answer to the question. So that's why I know these things happen automatically. And then what I do is inside each email is I'll put in a conditional section that says, I know the next thing that Neil's going to want to buy, or probably going to want to buy, is this thing. And that email, that was called a snippet. That snippet gets inserted into the email for you. But when I send the email to Martin might have already bought that thing, and I'm sending something different to Martin. Again, I'm not sitting doing this. It's all automated by the system. But if you build in the logic and you build in the controls, then what's happening behind the scenes is someone's trying to sell all your stuff while you're doing everything else. So if someone's already accessed, let's say in my example, in my business, they've already joined the free email course, the Kit Jumpstart course. I'm not going to advertise that to them in an email because they've already joined. So what I'll advertise to them after that is, if you want some extra help, why not join the hub community where I help people one-to-one, that you get X, Y. If those two things have already been put, then I'll put something else in. And I know that might sound complex and difficult to do, but it's really not. It's just simple logic. It's just, you build it in up front and you walk away and leave it, and it just works behind the scenes. I can't even remember what the question was, Neil, but that's
no. I think I was just commenting on how important I think that is to personalize those emails for people depending on what they're looking for. And basically, you are getting your audience, however small to start with, really giving you the ideas to create the content behind what they want. So it's like they call it self-licking ice cream cone. They're basically getting that information to you, and you're then able to curate that and then provide them with what they want. And it's very personalized, which I didn't fully realize that you could do. I mean, I knew there was some sort of logic that you could do within that, but now every email that your system sends out feels like a personal email sent to me based on what my core problems are and so on, instead of sending a generic random email saying, yo, I got a course, everybody, let's go and buy it. And but that does work for some people, and we do see a lot of those emails go out as well. But I think this personalized email trait or workflow, is very, very interesting. I'll let Martin just say something 1 second. Sahid just says, just because I'm on someone's email list, I don't need 13 emails per week from you. And that's fair enough as well. It's like, I'm going to send you 20 emails, get you keen. Martin, what's your thoughts on all this? Eye-opening for you?
I was just thinking, it's very important the way you put your emails together as well. So it's, what do you want more on, rather than what do you want more on, which is obviously slightly different. Different tone. But you just don't want to miss that space out. It can make all the difference. And I probably have in the past.
Oh dear.
But behind the scenes, I was probably actually thinking the latter as well. Oh God, I've been sending you millions of emails. What do you want more on? So yeah, I think the whole workflow thing is great, and the ability to effectively cut and slice and dice bits of text and bits of video and add them together to get the end product based upon the profile of what they've already asked for. It is, absolutely fabulous way to do things.
Yeah, the other thing you can do that I didn't mention, inside the emails, for the email marketing platforms that support it, you can use what's known as liquid code. It's a little bit more advanced, but to be honest, it's pretty simple once you get your head around it. But what you can actually do is, it's like text replacement. So if you tell me, if today you click on the thing that says I want to learn about how to grow my email list, tomorrow I can send you an email, and on it it'll say, "Hi Martin, I know you're struggling with growing your email list at the moment." Now that bit of text will change dynamically depending on the subscriber. So it might say, "I know you're struggling with monetizing your list," for someone else, and it might say something different for someone else again. But all this stuff just comes across, it lands more naturally with someone. If I get an email saying, "Hi John, I know you're struggling with monetizing your list," and I've just told the person the day before, I'm thinking, oh, they're obviously listening to what I'm saying, but it comes across as natural language inside an email and not like a automated system like what it actually is.
You definitely sparked some questions in the chat. So a couple of questions, one from Saeed and one from John. Thanks, John, for joining us. So Saeed says, speaking of which, how do you incentivize people to update their profiles with proper names, interests, and things like that? I think this relates to sort of obviously once you've sent the emails out in terms of getting some feedback from people.
Well, incentivized, to start with, you've got the ability to make certain things required when they join your list. As a general rule of thumb, the more required fields that you put in front of someone, the less likely they are to sign up. So if you've got a list that long of fields, people are just going to click away. But that's a general rule. Whether they're going to engage with you when you start asking them about what's your interest, what's your biggest challenge, all that type of stuff. The only way I think you can incentivize people is by future pacing them to say, if you can tell me what your biggest challenge is right now, I'll be able to help you. Within the next couple of weeks, you're going to find that problem's disappeared. Here's some examples of how we've helped people, do X, Y, or Z, whatever it is that they're struggling with. So you can give them that sort of that future image of what things are going to be like. Imagine you had daily subscribers join your list. Imagine you were making sales automatically. That kind of stuff would be enough to incentivize some people to at least click and say, okay, I want help monetizing my list. I want help understanding how to use that horizontal and vertical thing on eCam. I can't get my head right. That type of thing. If you can hit it on hit the right nerve, people are going to engage with it.
What you've just described before is, and I've just been racking my brains thinking about all the emails I've subscribed to over the years and emails that I get from people. It's very rare to see anything that I've seen that actually asks and speaks to me about what are my problems. A lot of the time you'll sign up for these email lists because they've got like either a freebie, it's some sort of lead magnet or something like that. And then, as you mentioned, the next email I get from them is like, I've got a $3,500 course that I'm running next week, and come and join me. But there's not a lot about about me or what my problems are or how I can help you. There's a lot of nice fluffy stuff in between, and then it's boom, I'm going to hit you with my next thing that I'm trying to sell you. Or in some cases, there's nothing in between I signed up for my lead magnet to now we're going to try and get you on this big course. And then if you don't sign up for that course, a few months later, here's another course, and it's even bigger than the last big course, and it goes on like that, but there's nothing in between. So I'm surprised that more people, unless I'm just subscribed to the wrong people, that could be the case, why there's not more people actually doing what you've said, applying some logic, some automation, some caring and feeding of your subscribers, because it does mean a lot, I think, for those individuals. I'm subscribing to you because I appreciate what you do. I'd like to get something from you. I like the work that you do, and I think that you can help me. But if it's then cold, and then you're just constantly trying to pitch and sell them stuff, that's probably not going to go, not going to go very well. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
John asked a quick question about, do you see a difference between Europe and USA and Asia in responses to emails? Follow-up is personalized, text is an option. It's an interesting point.
Follow-up is personalized text. Follow-up is personalized text and
is an option.
Is personalized text an option? Okay.
Oh, it's personalized text an option. Sorry, even I read it wrong. Sorry, and it's right in front of me.
Okay.
Apologies.
So starting with the second bit, is text an option? The short answer is on some platforms it is. It just depends on the platform. There are also some platforms that do not SMS, not just SMS, but they'll do WhatsApp as well and stuff like that. So that is becoming more prevalent in some of the platforms. Do I see a difference between Europe, USA and Asia? I can't comment that much on Asia because I don't have that many subscribers in Asia. If I'm honest, I've got a handful. Maybe a few dozen at most, I would suggest, in Asia. And I think my split on subscribers is heavily weighed towards the US. It's followed by UK and then some in Europe. Someone made a comment who actually happens to be one of my Asian subscribers, made a comment on one of my LinkedIn posts recently and said, I can't remember exactly what the quote was, but it was something along the lines that people in Asia don't answer emails. That was his kind of take on it. And I was like, well, okay. That's about a year. You're better, wasn't it? You know Asia better than I know Asia. But that was his take on it. So I don't know if that helps John and his answer, but that's kind of my take on it. Between Europe and USA, I don't really see a difference. If I'm honest, I think most people are. No, I guess if I had to be pushed, I would say Americans are probably more engaging than Europe as a generalism. But it's pretty even, I would say.
Yeah, Saeed was commenting about the double opt-in option, or not option, mandatory. So I'm not sure if it's the same in the US, but this is what you encourage as well, having this double opt-in for when people are signing up.
Yeah, so this is another potentially grey area. So double opt-in is not mandatory in certain territories that people think it's mandatory in. What is mandatory is proof that you collected that subscriber following the rules and regulations. So double opt-in is the most common way of proving that, but it doesn't necessarily need to be double opt-in. So that's the first thing. I know there are a couple of countries that say no, it definitely needs to be double opt-in. So they state that, but as a general, under GDPR, and I'm not a GDPR specialist, but under GDPR, you have an obligation to be able to prove that someone joined your email list. They requested to join your email list. And like I said, the simplest way, because the email platform takes care of it for you, is just to use double opt-in. Right. There's a whole argument about double opt-in versus single opt-in as well. I don't know if you want to get into that, but I'm a double opt-in person. But
maybe for another time. But I do see that on Kit a lot. And why does everything have to be about me? Because I'm hosting the show, Saeed. So that's the reason why.
The next example can be about Saeed.
Exactly. So Saeed, pop a question in there. What challenge do you have, Saeed? So it's almost 6 o'clock already, but go ahead, Martin. We have one more question for John. Go ahead.
It was kind of a random question for John, not associated with anything else we've talked about so far, but the concept of putting something in your shopping cart and then you've abandoned your shopping cart. There's a lot of follow-up emails you get from Amazon and equivalents where you've put something in your shopping cart and it says a week later, I've noticed it's still in your shopping cart, here's 10% discount or something like that. Is that kind of workflow part of any of your email sequences?
No, it's not. Well, actually it is, but with a caveat. So it is if you're already a subscriber. So if you're on my list and you happen to turn up at a page that you can buy something on and you add it to the cart and you don't do anything, I know that you've abandoned the cart, so to speak, because you're already a subscriber on my list. If you're not yet a subscriber on my list, I don't engage with those people because they haven't actually subscribed to be part of my list. Probably a kind of boring answer, but that's kind of the way I run mine.
So Said is saying, I think he means finding the inspiration to sit down actually writing a newsletter every X weeks is my challenge. I'll not solve that today. I guess, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? It depends on what you have to write about. And I guess there's no rules in terms of when, or should I say how often you should write a newsletter. But the key is that you should be consistent. If you are writing a newsletter for people that have actually subscribed to you, then there is an expectation from that person that subscribed that they should be getting something from you on a regular basis. And like to your point, John, not every 4 years.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the whole newsletter thing for me is just semantics, right? You can call your email a newsletter if you want, or it's just an email from you. Some people choose one over the other. But yeah, the overarching message I would say is that just send emails regularly, whatever that means to you and your subscribers. So people often ask me, how often should I send emails to my list? I'm thinking, well, what you need to do is commit to something that you know you can deliver on. Don't say you're going to send out weekly emails if you can't. If it's going to be 3.5 months and you say, I got one the other week for someone that says, sorry, I've been away for 13 weeks. It's like, I've been busy. I'm like, okay. So first of all, only commit to something that you can absolutely deliver on, regardless of what else happens. And the best way to do that, by the way, is just to back catalogue them. Just have some, so you give yourself leeway. If you've got 4 weekly episodes already written, then you've got a month that you can do nothing effectively. What was the second part of the question? I've forgotten now.
He said he's not going to solve his challenge today. He said finding the inspiration to sit down and actually write a newsletter. And I was saying, people do expect, if they have signed up to you, to actually get something from you regularly. Yeah.
So for me, it's an agreement to be worked out between you and your subscribers. How often do they expect or want an email from you, and how often are you committed to sending them to? One of the examples I often quote is, I remember someone who his business was basically giving people advice on daily stock options. And I think, well, if you're going to send out a monthly newsletter, it's redundant because people are looking for daily updates, right? Daily tips. And equally, if you happen to be in the retirement planning business or the funeral director, business, you're not going to email people every day. You're going to have a different cadence. So for me, it's about matching the cadence to your audience and what you can commit to. But the most important thing for me is being regular, being consistent, and not being prolific. Some people do nothing for 6 months and then they're like emailing every other day, and then you hear nothing from them. Introduce a cadence that people want and they like to see in their email box, and then stick to it.
So I guess the last question, because we're at the top of the hour, which I can't believe an hour has gone by so quickly. And this has been a wealth of information, lots to consider. For people who are watching this right now, what's the sort of single most important thing they should do in the next 24 hours? If they're convinced that email and automation is a workflow, what advice could you give to people? Apart from obviously joining your community and getting some insightful information, which I'll post right now, where you can get hold of John. I press the button. Go to provenflows.com and sign up to John's community. But at least, and I find a wealth of information in your community newsletters that you send, John. So thank you for that. So what piece of information would you give to somebody right now and say, I need to do something?
So one thing is just get started, get an email list, because if you don't have one yet, you're going to thank yourself for having one in a few months' time or a few years' time. Don't get caught up in the complexities of the technology and that. Everything is doable, everything's figure outable. Just pick an email marketing platform like Kit, get a free account, doesn't cost you anything. Just a side note on that, Kit actually has 2 free accounts. One has no automations and allows up to 1,000 subscribers, and one has 1 automation and 1 email sequence, and it allows up to 10,000 subscribers. That one, the better option is called the newsletter free plan. So just in case you sign up for the wrong free one. So my advice is get a free account on like Kit, and then build your first landing page, whatever that is, to share what you've got with the world and let people sign up to your list. But for the love of it's all, it's good that it just get a welcome sequence in somehow, even if it's just one email saying, "Hi, I'm John, this is what I do, thanks for joining my email list." Give them some sort of engagement right away, and then after that you can start to think about, okay, I'm going to start off with one email a month or one email every 2 weeks or something. Just get started slowly. I've actually got a free course that anybody can have. It's a 5-hour course on how to get started with Kit. So if that's your bag, you can get access to that as well. But you don't need to use Kit. You can use any platform you want. If you've already got a platform, that's fine too. But just whatever you do, just get started.
Perfect. Martin, any closing thoughts from you, apart from being inspirational today and thinking we need to do something with email lists?
I found that it's just given us lots of work to do, John.
Yes, I think that's it. But
why do we get these people on?
I don't know. It's good work. It's good work. But really appreciate your time, John. Again, it's a pleasure having you on the show, and you're welcome back anytime with any new stuff that you've got planned, anything that you want to showcase, anything you want to let everybody know about. You're always welcome here on this platform to share your knowledge and workflows.
Well, as always, it's a pleasure to be here. So thank you.
No problem. If you hang around in the green room for a second, we'll be right back. I'm just going to close off with Martin, and we'll see you soon. John, thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
Inspirational. I've got lots of things to think about now on my email list and make it better, I think, and automate it. What about you, Martin? Because you've got quite a few people on your email list that I guess is just sat there ticking away.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the problems is, just focusing on the email list, because there's too many other distractions that keep you super interested. So I think that's the most difficult part for me, is to pull myself away from all these AI tools and design tools and things like that, which I enjoy using, and then think, oh, actually, I do need to pay some bills. Maybe I should go back to the email list and actually let people know what I'm doing as well, which
Yes.
I'm very bad at. So,
Yeah, same for me.
Yeah.
I get distracted with things as well. And I've recently, over the last couple of sort of months, been trying to focus more on, as my other colleague and friend says, moving the needle for your business. If you're doing an activity that's not going to get clients, why are you doing that activity? So it's a good point, and you should ask yourself that question every morning. Like, why am I doing something here that's going to generate business and bring in clients and things like that?
And I think the other thing is that as time passes, you don't realise, and that's probably equally as true for me and you, just how much you've learned in the last 6 months, let's say, on some new topics.
Yeah.
And the fact that probably the people in your email list haven't spent 6 months looking at that.
No, that's true.
So you're suddenly got 6 months of stuff that you could tell them about, because they've got day jobs that, they're doing other things.
That's right.
But you can tell them about all the latest microphones and software and audio and cameras and things that they haven't heard about, but you've forgotten that you haven't told them because you've been too busy, head down looking at all of these reviews and comparisons and all that sort of thing. You say,
That's a good point.
Oh, actually, now you were there 6 months ago. I'm over here somewhere now. I'm off the page.
Right.
But I've forgotten to tell you that the needle has moved, actually.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. I appreciate that. Yeah, I have to think about, imparting that knowledge and what we've already learned. But this has been insightful. So thank you again, John, for joining us. And I guess we're going to be back next week. We're going to be back with our regular show. We've had a sort of a bit of a layoff. It's like John mentioned before, he gets an email 4 years later. Oh, we've been on a little bit of a hiatus, but we're back. So we'll be back next week. And then in a couple of weeks' time, we've got a gentleman who's going to show us a new AI tool all about custom animations and things like that. So that should be fun. But next week, we'll tell you what the topic is next week. But Monday, just let everybody know, if you're still watching, is that Martin and I are going to be joining the Streamer Live team. And we're going to be taking our sort of normal closed shop call that we have on Zoom to talk about all things Streamer Live and audience engagement and things like that. We're going to take it to the masses. We're going to try and do this live. And Martin has got the unenviable task of being the producer for the show. Lux is going to be the presenter, and we're just going to sit in the background and have a chat about things. But it's going to be fun, and it's going to be on Stream Alive's channel and our channels as well. So that's going to be Stream Alive at 5 p.m. UK on Monday, which will be noon Eastern. So come and join us for that. Any thoughts on that, Martin?
Power Users Hangout.
Yeah, exactly. Power Users Hangout. Should be fun.
Yeah,
all right.
We need to think of a name. Yeah.
I think so. Until next week, anyway.
Is it?
I think it's
next week.
It's unmuting the audience. I think that's what it's called. But anyway.
Oh, is it?
We'll talk to you next week.
Okay.
See you soon. Bye.